What's your overall take on the program, the position it's in? A couple new hires again this year, but I couldn't be happier just personally. I think there's a ton of depth, ton of development going on, a lot of guys getting placed in the league. It's ready to turn that corner to being a national championship contender year in, year out. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's gotten better every year since we've left. The talent is nowhere, they have so much more talent now than we had when we were there, of course. I mean, especially with all the scholarship situation. But yeah, man, I think it's that time. They need to take the next step. They need to figure it out. They need to have, certain guys in certain positions step up.
Quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn State!
College football tees, college basketball tees, whatever you need, Mercury has you covered with the best merch out there. We're talking about high quality clothing, inexpensive, and the best part is I have a 15% discount for everybody who goes and gets some right now. Use the code below, hit the link in the description, and go get your merch now. Use the code to get 15% off. What are you waiting on? Go do it.
What's going on, folks? We are launching the Retain the Roar campaign here at State Media in partnership with Happy Valley United. This is extremely important to me personally and the entire program moving forward. I came to Penn State in some of the darkest times. I deeply care about this university and this football program. That is why I'm done talking. I'm going to lead by example, and I'm working to pull a bunch of other lettermen together to get behind this campaign. It is integral for us to participate in NIL, and not only participate, but dominate, to match the expectations that we all have for this program. We're in it to win championships, so let's put our money where our mouth is. I'm taking the first step. I hope that you all follow me. Our goal is to raise $500,000 to close this spring transfer portal cycle and ensure that we retain the roar. Back again with another episode of The Pocket. B-Bell as always, and alongside us this week, we have one of my favorite players of all time at Penn State. He was a captain with me. People know him very, very well as Hurricane, Mike the Hurricane Hull. Dude, I appreciate you jumping on. What's been up, man?
Dude, not much. Appreciate you guys having me on. It's been amazing watching what you guys have done on this podcast. But, man, just living down in Nashville, working with some Penn Staters, some former Penn Staters, and, man, just crushing on the real estate side. That's really it.
Bro, you guys have the entire Penn State locker room down there. How's that? Like, just working with Shitzy and Brad Bars, we nicknamed Shitzy. Brad Bars, Garrett, Mike Farrell, like you guys got a whole clan. What's that been like?
Dude, it's been awesome to be able to grow this thing out down here, call it Penn State South. And, man, we have a locker room environment. It's like a Penn State football house down here every day at work, man, just giving each other shit. And
that's dangerous.
Dude, I know. We have some wrestling matches that break out in the office every now and then, but try to keep that most of the time. But it's been a good time, good experience working with all those guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. Appreciate you sharing that. We've been hearing a lot more about it, catching up with you guys, Penn State South, as you call it, but kind of get back into that locker room feel, as you say. Man, you're one of those guys that, experienced the last three head coaches we had to get it more to the football side. And just kind of share a little bit about your journey in the beginning, man. Under Joe Pa, what do you take away most from that last Joe Pa era?
Yeah, it was pretty unique. Obviously committing to Penn State, 2008, thought that I was going to go there into a very stable program. Whenever I got there, man, you grew up really quickly under Joe. The older players, really, it was their job to bring you along. And, man, everything from just the way that he coached and his assistants coached all the way through. I mean, even JT, his strength program, it was meant to break you. So, dude, it was kind of crazy going from that. And then Bill O'Brien came in and, completely changed the way that things were being done. And I really appreciated that in that way. And then going to James and transitioning for that final year saw a different perspective as well. So, I mean, just running the gauntlet was kind of nuts, but
Yeah.
very cool. And to see all those different coaching styles, and it worked for all of them in their own ways.
You really ever think about, like, obviously the lineage of Penn State head coaches is very short, and you and Barzy and some of these guys are very few to have. Klein comes to mind as well, to really share those 3 experiences. I mean, how do you think it's benefited you in life now, post-playing career, as you said, Penn State self, running real estate down there with the guys? What aspects from that time do you take now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that over my time at Penn State, just having all those different coaches and all those different situations, that taught me to mature very quickly. I felt like that's something that you need in business and you need in life after football. It also taught me how to pivot, reinvent myself, and kind of always try to provide value. Whenever that was playing football, hey, can I play special teams? Can I be the backup long snapper? Now it's like, hey.
You were the backup long snapper.
Yeah. Backup at
I remember you take the snap.
Yeah, shoot. So, and then now in business, man, it's like, hey, interest rates change, the market changes in housing, and, how do you reinvent yourself? How do you, find that edge? How do you overcome and adapt? And, all those things are lessons that I learned through football.
What's going on, y'all? Christian Hackenberg with State Media in the Pocket. This segment is brought to you by Utz. Utz has a phenomenal line of potato chips and other snacks. We were fortunate enough to be able to enjoy them all weekend. They kept us fed and ready for all of these interviews that you all are about to enjoy. They've been a fantastic partner of ours, and we're looking forward to continuing to bring you guys exclusive content here at State Media. You were a hell of a player, and a ton of kudos for that. I loved playing with you. Personally, on the other side of the ball, it was so much fun having guys like you on defense. And I talked to B-Bell enough; he knows exactly how I feel about him as well. But you talked about stepping into a stable situation, and I don't think you and I have ever really chopped it up about this. And obviously, the 2013 class has had their perspective documented, very well documented, just through all of that. The turmoil when everything broke to Coach O'Brien and him leaving and then Coach Franklin coming in, that's all been very, very well documented. I kind of want to get your perspective on that. Joe had been there for 40-something years at that point. The logo was the logo. It sold itself. It was able to recruit guys like you. You knew what Penn State was all about. And then there's this just massive occurrence that happened that shook the entire foundation of that. What was it like through your eyes going through that entire experience?
Yeah. Like I said, from the start, it was very unexpected. You think you're going into a stable program. And I think for our class, we were that 2010 class, and it was going into that 2012 season. I feel like we had a really, really good and strong team. Then we lost 5 really key pieces, Kyrie Fort, Silas Red, Farah, all those guys. So it's a piece of our class kind of fell off. And I think I came in with 22 guys. I think we graduated with 8 of those scholarship guys. So my class got depleted through that process. So it was a unique experience because I ended up gravitating towards the class above me or 2 grades above me, and then guys below me. But man, it was a little bit, it was a different experience that I wasn't ready for, getting close with guys freshman year, sophomore year, and then having a lot of those guys leave the program. It was a little bit tough, but like I said, it was very rewarding in other ways too, to see other perspectives and coaches and, get closer with other classes.
Yeah.
Well, I think elaborate on that, right? Because I've always been very reflective on it. Making the decision to stay ultimately, was one decision the first time, and then for us, we had a second opportunity to leave, and we stayed. So elaborate on that a little bit though, because you're covering great points, but to me, it was so much deeper. It ultimately became about like Penn State, much less about the football product, right? Like it was about trying to be with football being a massive part and a massive association with that logo. It was more so about stabilizing the ship at that point in time and having an opportunity to do that. Like, what was more of the intrinsic, like off the field values and lessons that you learned from that maybe you took away from that overall experience?
Yeah. Whenever I was going through that, I was really close to leaving and going to Pitt, for example. I actually, it was crazy. I went into Bill O'Brien's office and I literally said, I'm leaving. I'm going to Pitt. I'll probably be a 3-year starter there. Here I'd have to sit behind Mike Maudie, Gerald Hodges, Glenn Carson. Kyrie at the time was still, in the mix as well. So from that perspective, I was one of those guys that I felt like I was going to be gone. And then the thing that kept me at Penn State was Penn State. It was that tradition. It was my dad and my uncle playing at Penn State. It was more than just, hey, I'm going to go to this other program and start. It was just about everything that you just mentioned and talked about. It's about the brand and getting to play in front of 110,000 fans regularly, no matter if you're playing for a bowl game or not. So those were some of the reasons that I stayed. I created some really great bonds with Miles Diefenbach and Jesse Della Valle and Brad Bars, and then even Mike Farrell and Mike Yancich, and just, Penn State is so unique with the type of player that they recruited and continue to recruit. It's not like other locker rooms. It's not like other places. The level of character and quality people in that locker room, it's something special. And I think at the time I realized that, and I'm glad that I ended up staying.
Yeah. Shoot, man. Not only is the program appreciative of you staying, but I know I am personally. Kabinda and I, whenever we're together chopping up about our plan days, we always, come back to you and really setting the standard and being the prime example for that whole linebacker you. Because we saw it up close. What you went through, what you did, the leadership, the grind, injuries, everything, the whole bucket list. So I'm appreciative of you. If I've never told you that, I'm telling you now. Thank you for just being you. Honestly, that's really about it. I'm not sure if you remember my freshman camp. I was having a hard go. I was talking to Coach Dion, the other day at the Philly event. He always brings it up about my rookie camp, Hackenberg's rookie camp, because he thought I was like a JUCO guy because Coach Vanderlinden and all the guys were kind of harping on me hard. He's like, dang, is this kid is he like 20, 19?
I was about to say, you were 25 when you were a freshman. That's why I thought you were.
Yeah, man. But I remember coming to you, Coach Ron Vanderlinden was on me heavy, just like, yo, please, just kick me in the ass, pick me up whenever you see me slacking type of deal. And you guys have my back, you, Glenn Carson. We got to catch up with Glenn too. I owe a lot to you guys just setting that example. So just thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem, man. That's what it's all about. And, Mike Maudie and Nate Stupar even, and, a lot of those guys before me, Gerald Hodges even, man, they an example in their own unique way, and that's my responsibility to pass down. So that's what makes linebacker U special, man. And, dude, I was happy to do it. And honestly, Ron Vanderlinden too. I mean, dude, his individual period and his his technique drills, man, that's second to none. So it was my responsibility to pass that on.
I recently just found an old CD he gave me in high school, like an old recruiting pitch of the drills, the linebacker drills, man. I gotta run that back.
Dude, 100%. That's so funny.
Gotta find a CD player first. But no, man, I mean, transitioning to the field, you made that transition from outside to Mike. Can you take us through that? We got some guys on the current team. We'll get to these guys in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Going through some position changes, the linebacker room itself, talking to the coaches and the guys up there has got some opportunity for some guys maybe playing out of position, or from the past. Take us through that, because, I mean, when you hit the Mike spot, you took it with a full head of steam, ran the show, and probably had one of your better years.
we got a new sponsor. Have you ever heard of Mando? Well, now we have Lume for men. It's the same clinically proven, doctor-developed formula, but in cologne quality scents for men. That is the best way to put it. And I'll tell you what, they got me hooked. I used it every day. Full body deodorant, body shower gel, bourbon leather, the Pro Sport. Every single product has been used and approved, not only by myself, but my wife. And that's also very important. So with that being said, I want to give you all a fantastic opportunity. Get Mando's starter pack. It's perfect for new customers. Cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. Mini body wash, which I highly recommend. The deodorant wipes are also fantastic because you can take them on the go, and free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off of your starter pack. Use code POCKET at shopmando.com. Shopmando.com.
Yeah, I honestly, I felt like I was always an inside linebacker. I always thought that I was a Mike. From the time I was little, I played inside linebacker. It was really just college. I was a bit undersized, and I had good speed and quickness. So I felt like they were trying to fit me, at that Sam spot, which is almost like a hybrid nowadays, or the will. So moving back to the middle felt like a natural fit for me. I just was very comfortable in between the tackles and just reading everything. But I definitely think playing on the outside for really, 2 or 3 years definitely helped make my game more well-rounded. But it's hard when you're playing out of position, man. You just don't feel comfortable in certain scenarios. You're trying to compensate for certain things, and whenever you get everything comes together and you get to that position where you're meant to be, special things can happen.
100%.
That's great. Now, let's shift this to the team. So you watched some games last year. I caught you up there. We bumped into each other going into the stadium a few times. What's your overall take, right? Like, I've talked about this broad stroke, from where this place was to where we are now. It's pretty incredible, and there's a lot of people involved in that. And something that I probably take the most pride in is, like, there was never this massive dip. We were able to win a Big Ten championship in 2016. A lot of my guys, I left a year early, but a lot of the guys I came in with got to experience that, which was awesome. And then just being extremely competitive from here on out. What's your overall take on the program, the position it's in? A couple new hires again this year, but I couldn't be happier, just personally. I think there's a ton of depth, ton of development going on. A lot of guys getting placed in the league. It seems like it's ready to turn that corner to being a national championship contender year in, year out. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's gotten better every year since we've left. The talent is nowhere, they have so much more talent now than we had when we were there, of course. I mean, especially with all the scholarship situation. But, man, I think it's that time. They need to take the next step. They need to figure it out. They need to have, certain guys in certain positions step up. I think linebacker being one of them. I think they have some dogs there now. And then, honestly, too, quarterback. I mean, you need to have someone that's going to make the throws, not be afraid to let it rip. And has to take over the game and change the game. I think we have a really solid offensive line. The wide receiver room needs to get better. But, if they can figure out that wide receiver room and the quarterback can lead those guys, I think they could take that next step. But they're right there. They're on the cusp. It's one or two guys, one or two players that, that need to, take over and be that dude.
Yeah. Now, if – you as a leader, if you're on this team now, because we just talked about it, the talents, superb more than ever. But how do you handle, if you were on the team now, the expectations that come with all of this that we talk about? We had talent. We were, going to grind everything out back when we played, but the expectations were nowhere near what they are now. What do you say? How do you corral the guys? Like you said, the quarterback, the linebackers. How do you grab the team by its horns and really take them to the promised land?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a tough question. I think that's a question that, that's the secret sauce right there. But, if if it's me running the defense, man, it's just having high standards every single day, day in and day out. Every single practice, just, letting guys around hey, if a drill, if a period isn't, successful or doesn't look like you want it to look, you got to let your guys know in that moment, this is not up to our standard. Can't let things go on and get worse over time, or let one thing slide and then another thing slides. And then before you know it, in a big game, those things show up. And then also, man, I truly believe either you're legit or you're not. I think one of the coaches, Kirby Smart, maybe a few years back, was like, hey, either you're legit or you're not. You're going to take this next step. You're going to beat Clemson. You're going to beat, all these teams you need to beat to win a national championship. Like, let's do it. You got to be dogs whenever it's time to be a dog. And I truly believe, the legit teams and the legit programs find a way to get it done. So, I mean, that's the mentality that those guys have to have.
Yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head with that word. Like, to me, it's just a mentality flip, right? Like Bebo, you painted the picture really well, but and I always keep reflecting back to when we were playing. Like, it was like, if there was a lull, I knew Mike was going to go and make a play, and if Mike made a play, that motivated me to then go and make a play that was maybe above the circumstances, right? Like, you go out and you say, okay, perfect example was, I think, that Ohio State game in 2014 when Zettel had that pick six. We were doing jack dick on offense, and then all of a sudden you felt that momentum switch, and then Jimmy started making plays for us, and it was just we were able to ride that into a really damn good football game against the eventual national champions. We should have beat them, but those are the things that it's hard to identify that. It's you have a guy who just has that that's makes those timely plays. And I think a lot of that comes from confidence. We've gotten the chance to get to know Coach Kaltenecki really well, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, because I thought the defense has historically through this entire thing has been pretty consistent with what they bring to the table.
100%.
And I just think offensively, it's just been finding that rhythm from the top down. And they were in a little bit of a rut last year with Yurcich, and I'm not quite sure how that went. But I'm really excited about Kaltenecki just because he goes back to teaching. He's a big, big teacher and motivator and why, and very, very fundamentally focused on that side of things. And I think that's when you're talking about offense, there's so many ways to skin the cat. But if you're confident in what you're doing, you don't have to be this innovative offense. If you can execute against everything that you're going to look, that all the looks you're going to get, I mean, you could go into a game with 10 plays on your call sheet and probably win with our roster a lot of times if they're confident in it. So I don't think he's going to do that. He's got a little more sauce, a little more presentation and window dressing, but that's a great point. I mean, it's a mentality switch. And I think it's just overall belief,
Yeah. That reminds me of some of the words I said after we beat Ohio State 2016, last time we beat them. Obviously big moment, big game. Everyone's hype out their mind. But my biggest thing was hey, this has to become – it shouldn't be a shock. Maybe to the rest of the world it's a shock. But to us, this has to be, as you said, the mentality that we come in to every week, no matter who we're lining up against, who's ranked no matter what. So as you said, I think Coach Kaltenecki and Coach Allen will bring that, from their respective sides of the ball, as if they've shown that in their history. But Mike, I want to ask you about, this realignment of the Big Ten. What's your take on it? Would you be excited as a player? I think a lot of people are saying, okay, playoffs are expanding. Penn State should be in. But, there's some dogs on the schedule coming from the West Coast. What's your take on the realignment?
Before we get to the next topic, we're going to take a minute to talk about Factor Meals. Now, I know that there's a ton of food delivery service options out there. I'm going to stand on the table here and say this. Factor Meals does it different. Pre-prepared, chef-crafted, dietitian approved. We've gotten the chance to test them here at the Pocket. I just got mine this past week. Phenomenal meals, super easy. Throw them in the oven. Like I said, they're pre-prepared. Pop them out, throw them on a plate. I'm a new father, got a wife. I'm unfortunately the one that does the majority of the cooking in the house. So whenever I need a break, this is a great option for me. Meals, 2 minutes or less. They got snacks. They got smoothies. They got little juice drinks. It's super flexible. It fits into my schedule when need be. No mess. I also do the dishes. So therefore, minimal dishes when it comes to preparation with Factor meals. Really, really, really highly recommend them for your day-to-day operation. So if you like what I'm talking about, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, please head over to factormeals.com/pocket50 and use code pocket50 to get 50% off. That's code pocket50 at factormeals.com/pocket50 to get 50% off. I know that's a lot of pocket 50s, but you guys get the gist. 50% off to cut into about 75% of your meal prep time. Phenomenal, and I highly recommend them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a good thing for college football. I think it's a good thing for the Big Ten. I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. The last few years, like you said, the state of the program, it's like you kind of knew what was going to happen before the season. It was going to come down to two big games, and are we going to win those two big games or not? Now, you have UCLA, you have USC on the schedule, and a couple others, and it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more big, meaningful games with historic programs that have the ability to recruit. So I think it's great for the Big Ten. I think it's going to elevate that entire conference's play overall. Dude, I think it's a great thing all around. So yeah, I just hopefully Penn State can continue to find ways to get better and use some of these other games and opponents to move the ball forward for these big games, against Ohio State and Michigan. And not that, I think it's great.
I mean, conversely too, like Ohio State and Michigan cruised and they had 2 games circled on their schedules, right? So it breeds a much more competitive top half of the conference and deeper part of the conference from that standpoint. It almost becomes SEC-ish where like, Georgia is looking down the barrel of Florida and Tennessee. And it's like there's 3 or 4 teams in each side of the division that can really go and win it. Whereas like us the past few years, there were 3 teams that had national championship talent depth and rosters on one side of the division. And then the other side of the division was just an absolute joke. 100%. So, that'll be cool, and it'll be cool just to see the dispersion. Like, and now, like different, they're kind of going back to that old model that you played with, Mike, where I think they blended the East and the West. Now it's no longer East and West. I think they're blending it. You're rotating. So I think that'll be. I think it'll ultimately bring a better product, and like the Big Ten championship game will actually be a game people want to watch.
Oh my God.
UCLA comes to Penn State. I mean, next year, like that's a cool opponent. I'm seeing out there. It'll be good for the fans and for the spectators. Get some fresh blood in the conference and on the schedule and in Beaver Stadium, and it's cool. I think it's good on so many levels. So couldn't agree more.
Also, it has a chance to open up the recruiting. I think maybe Penn State opens up a little more on the West Coast. Some of those West Coast athletes, maybe play twice at least over there. Every other year or so. So I'm excited for it.
I am as well. So they try to keep adding to these conferences. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be 2.
Future, man. It's got to be 2. I mean, the way that it's headed. So, just got to get the best guys that are left. It seems so.
Yeah. So let's get back holistic here. Good, bad, and ugly from your experiences at Penn State, Mike. Like, I know we kind of touched on it early, but like some really, best times, worst times, what it all means and how it all came together for you.
Yeah, I mean, some of my best times. I mean, my senior year, I think that was the year that everything came together for me personally. On the field, a lot of that had to do with moving back, to the inside. I just felt like I had that confidence that year, and was in the position where I felt very comfortable with who I was as a person, who I was as a player, and who I was as a teammate. So my senior year, I loved every bit about that. I loved, Franklin and his staff that he brought in. Bob Shoop did a ton for me, and Brent Pry. I still regard, Brent Pry as one of my, if not my favorite coach of all time. I really feel like just all the crazy stuff that happened early on was the bad. It's just I really didn't have any bad experiences the whole time I was at Penn State College. Like I loved it through and through, but just having all that change over and over again, having to prove yourself over and over again, and just having that instability, that was kind of tough. And then the ugly was just my junior year. I felt like I was going to have the same year I did my senior year. Got hurt the first game at Syracuse, kind of.
That turf was a mug, man.
Yeah, dude, and kind of set me back for the rest of the season. But personally, but dude, honestly, I loved hanging out with all you guys, and like I said, whenever you come into Penn State and they say these are the guys that are going to stand next to you in your wedding one day, like these are lifelong relationships. Like that's the truth. Like, it was just an amazing time, amazing experience. And whether you go on to play in the NFL after or go to the workforce, like those relationships are not going to be anywhere near the same. You're not ever going to be as close as you were with the guys in college. So Penn State, it was awesome in that regard.
Yeah.
I think you kind of teed up my last question perfectly. Like, what does it mean to be a letterman? Like, what does it mean to be a Penn State letterman? I think it's different than a lot of other places across the country. I take it. I have a hard time putting it into words. I try a lot of times, but it's just the coolest, one of the most coolest and powerful fraternities there is out there. And I always like to ask guys that because I think every guy interprets it differently, but a lot of times you get a lot of the same sentiments with it. Yeah,
dude, honestly, being a letterman and alumni of Penn State football, man, it's like you said, it's super special. It's hard to put it together really in words, but whenever you have been in the trenches and battled with those guys and seen them day in and day out work and want to be the best version of themselves, like you have a level of respect for those guys for the rest of your life. Like, even like Tom Pankos worked for us down here, and guys that I haven't seen for years, you go and you see them just, years later, you haven't talked to them, maybe you lost touch or whatever, but you see them and you pick up right where you left off. Like you've been best friends and have been talking every week for years. Right. So, I feel like there's just that level of respect and love for Penn State and love for one another that I feel like a lot of places don't have. Like I feel like we have that bond at Penn State. I think that's what makes that place so special and unique. That's kind of the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
100%, man. I just got one question for the content, but I'm always just curious, man. Could you give us your most memorable play on the field during your time as a Penn State football player?
Probably that block punt my sophomore year against Ohio State. We lost that game, which is unfortunate, but I really don't think that I heard the stadium that loud ever before or after, so I think that was probably my favorite play. Just, it wasn't a defensive play, but that's what it's all about, man. Just that pure emotion and seeing 110,000 fans light up,
It's the hurricane right there. I think I was too.
Yeah. And having my boy Mike Yancich scoop that fumble up for a touchdown.
Yeah,
We're both high school rivals, man. So
okay, I didn't know.
Apart from one another, so yeah, we go way back, man. It was cool.
Nice. Well, Mike, man, we appreciate you. Definitely don't be a stranger. Got to have you back during the season. We're gonna have a lot of content things going. We're all locked in. Hoping the best for these guys. Any last words? Want to shout out the company or anything like that?
Man, no. I just all I'll say is good luck to the players, this coaching staff this year, man. We're all pulling for you. Think the world of you guys, and we have a ton of Penn State pride. We want to see you guys take the next step. That's it, and would love to be back on the show in the fall, man.
Oh yeah.
I love watching film, so it's great.
Oh yeah, we're gonna chop it up for sure. The fall's gonna get the fall's gonna get nerdy, and that's the hardest part about this right now is we're just like, because people are doing that stuff, but it's like we all know we're like, none of this shit matters. Like I don't care about a spring game. I don't care about this. Like none of it matters until the lights come on. Like this is all just fluff.
100%, man. Yeah, we've been there. We've all been at the highest level. Shoot, we know whenever it's time to roll.
Yeah.
So, it'll be fun in the fall. Bullets are flying.
We'll do it for sure. You're locked in.
Awesome.
Make sure maybe we'll do a D-line, creative investments, D-line, and linebacker breakdown with Garrett. We'll have one person who talks until, just to fill up space, and then the other one who just doesn't talk at all until he really needs to. And you, Mike? It's going to be awesome. We got to bring it together.
100%, man. Get some bourbon. He's ready to roll.
Yeah.
Just talking about your late night bourbon talks, dude. Just like a little FaceTime action. Let's get it.
Oh yeah. You need them sometimes.
Yeah, you do. You got to stay sane, man. But no, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great, man. Break down some film or do something.
Oh yeah.
So good deal, guys.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Hurricane, appreciate you, brother. That is a wrap for this episode of The Pocket. Make sure you guys are following us on all of our socials, State Media, PSU, Instagram, Twitter, now X, so on and so forth. You guys know the deal. We appreciate you listening. Looking forward to continuing to bring you guys the best Penn State content out there.